128.2 million viewers. Like, I really want you to let that number sink in for a second before we do anything else today.
It's just a completely staggering metric.
Right. 128.2 million people all tuning in, all watching Bad Bunny absolutely command the stage at the Super Bowl halftime show. And you're watching this incredible spectacle, right? The lights, the pyrotechnics.
The sheer cultural gravity of that moment is undeniable.
Exactly. And you naturally have to ask yourself, what is the biggest superstar in the world wearing for the most watched performance of his entire life?
You would totally assume it's a custom, maybe archival, diamond-encrusted heritage luxury piece.
Like something pulled directly from a vault in Paris. But no, he is wearing a suit from Zara.
Which is, frankly, the visual of that is such a brilliant subversion of expectations. You have the ultimate stage, like the absolute peak of cultural visibility. And the flex isn't exclusivity in the traditional sense.
No, not at all.
It's accessibility. But, it's styled with such undeniable swagger that it completely short-circuits our traditional assumptions about what luxury even means anymore.
Yeah, it really does.
The mechanism Zara used here is fascinating because they didn't just put him in a standard off-the-rack piece. They tailored a mass-market silhouette so perfectly that it visually read as high-end couture on camera. I mean, they completely hacked the visual language of luxury.
It fundamentally changes the conversation around what we actually value. And honestly, that is the core of what we are getting into today. So welcome to the deep dive on More Taste Than Money.
Yes, so glad to be doing this one.
We are channeling our fashion business historians today for a heavily researched, highly analytical breakdown of modern desire. We are looking at the brand new Q1 2026 Lyst Index alongside the Shop the Lyst Index editor selections.
And for those who might not spend their mornings obsessing over retail metrics, the Lyst Index is essentially the definitive quarterly ranking of fashion's hottest brands and products.
The ultimate scoreboard.
Exactly. We are talking about a proprietary methodology that synthesizes demand data from 160 million annual shoppers.
160 million. I mean, that is a massive chunk of global consumer behavior. But it's not just looking at who sold the most T-shirts, right?
No, not just raw sales. It cross-references hard sales data with social media mentions, search volume, editorial coverage, and emerging AI discovery channels.
So the mission of this deep dive today is to decode all of that data, to reveal the invisible forces shaping what you, the listener, actually want to buy in 2026.
Because whether you are a fashion industry insider trying to analyze shifting supply chains, or you're just sitting there wondering why you suddenly have an overwhelming, inexplicable urge to dress like a 90s minimalist.
Which is so real right now.
It really is. But this deep dive is going to be your ultimate cheat sheet to how modern brand heat is actually manufactured.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we even get into who is sitting at the top of the rankings, we first have to understand how the underlying math has shifted. The rules of the game have fundamentally changed this quarter.
They really have. Lyst has introduced a totally new three-dimensional methodology for ranking brands. It's desire, demand, and discovery.
And at first glance, I know this sounds a bit like corporate marketing jargon.
Oh, for sure.
But the mechanics underneath are actually wild. So desire is basically your cultural visibility. It's the cultural appetite driven by creators, digital communities, and just the sheer volume of people talking about a brand online.
Right. It measures qualitative heat. Then you have demand, which represents the hardcore economic fundamentals. Like, are people actually searching for the brand?
Are they showing measurable purchase intent?
Exactly. Are they putting their credit cards down and buying the pieces? It tracks repeat engagement and sustained interest over time.
And the third pillar feels totally new to the equation, which is discovery. This is all about how brands are surfacing in customer journeys, especially through AI-led search, which, let's be honest, is completely rewiring how you and I find things online.
It's changing everything about retail.
Yeah. And looking at this three-part formula, I can't help but feel like this is basically just modern dating.
Ooh, I like where this is going. Walk me through the mechanics of that.
Well, think about it. Desire is what gets you the first date, right? It's the viral moment, the great profile picture, the cultural buzz.
Yeah.
You see something and think, oh, I want to know more.
Okay, yeah.
Demand is the actual committed relationship. That is the sales, the repeat engagement, the fact that you actually keep showing up and investing your time and money.
And so discovery is?
Discovery is the matchmaking app itself. It is the algorithm that put you two together in the first place because it understood your underlying preferences.
That is such a good way to look at it. Let's push that metaphor even deeper, actually. Because the matchmaking process you're talking about has evolved significantly.
How so?
Well, Discovery isn't just the app anymore. It's the algorithm realizing that because you swiped right on photos of, say, indie coffee shops and 90s grunge bands, it knows exactly which profile to show you next.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The AI is doing the matchmaking based on your peripheral vibes. And what's fascinating here is that the Lyst report explicitly states that generating a momentary spike, just going viral for a day with a loud, crazy stunt, it matters far less now.
So the algorithm is getting smarter.
Much smarter.
Yeah.
The new math of brand heat actively rewards consistency and coherence. It actually penalizes noise. If a brand does something loud but it doesn't connect to a broader, coherent narrative, the AI gets confused.
And if the AI is confused, it won't know who to match the brand with in the discovery phase.
Exactly, which means it will never translate into demand.
So if the AI algorithm actively punishes confusing noise and only rewards a cohesive story, who is actually telling the best story right now? Because it takes a massive machine to keep a narrative that consistent.
It does. You can't just be a one-hit wonder anymore.
No, you have to build a whole believable ecosystem.
And the heritage luxury houses are engineering this exact formula perfectly this quarter. If coherence is the game, Chanel is winning it. Yeah, they are the #1 hottest brand for Q1 2026 under the new creative direction of Matthieu Blazy.
I mean, Chanel at #1 under a new creative director is a massive shift for the house.
Yeah.
What did he actually change to trigger the algorithm so successfully?
The data shows exactly why his approach is working so well. Blazy is refreshing the entire Chanel universe without losing its core recognizability.
Right.
He's taking foundational categories, specifically footwear and bags, and altering the physical mechanics just enough to feel incredibly current.
Like the viral pumps.
Yes, the viral pumps that landed at #2 on the hottest products list. He didn't abandon the classic Chanel two-tone toe cap. He recontextualized it by playing with the heel proportion and the arch, making the silhouette pop visually on an iPhone screen.
So he married heritage with digital native design.
Exactly. It gives new customers an accessible entry point while reassuring the legacy clients.
And we are seeing the exact same thing with the reinvented Maxi Flap bag, which is sitting at #6 on the list. He tweaked the hardware and the slouch of the leather just enough to generate fresh desire and demand.
The Maxi Flap is the textbook example of driving novelty and continuity at scale. Now, joining Chanel near the top, entering the index at #3, is Dior under Jonathan Anderson.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. And honestly, I have to push back a little bit on the premise here.
Let's hear it.
Are people actually buying Chanel and Dior for the heritage anymore? Or are they just following superstar, celebrity-level designers like Matthieu Blazy and Jonathan Anderson wherever they go?
I see what you mean.
Right. It feels like the creative director is the actual brand now, and the heritage house is just the venue they happen to be playing at this season.
I see why you would draw that distinction, especially with designers who have such massive personal followings. But the data actually proves otherwise? Yeah. If Anderson took his exact same designs to a smaller, independent label, the algorithm wouldn't pick it up with the same velocity.
Well, that makes sense.
He needs Dior's 100-year-old architectural framework to feed the AI. Dior's strength lies in a tightly constructed world-building strategy that extends far beyond the physical product.
So it's the combination of the two.
Right. Anderson is leveraging Dior's historical lexicon, their global retail footprint, and their immense marketing apparatus to create an unambiguous narrative.
Okay, so the designer provides the spark, but the heritage house provides the algorithm-friendly category tags.
Yes, precisely. When an AI search tool is trying to figure out what to show you, a clear, unambiguous narrative is much easier for the algorithm to categorize.
Yeah, that tracks.
Anderson's clear vision, combined with Dior's historical weight, tells the AI exactly who the customer is. If a brand is confused about its own identity, the AI won't know who to show it to.
The confused brand is literally an invisible brand in 2026. That is kind of terrifying for smaller labels. But let's pivot to a brand that leans into a very different, much more aggressive kind of visibility.
Gucci.
Yes, Gucci. They are the biggest mover this quarter, jumping up 4 spots to #5.
This movement is entirely centered around Demna's debut at Gucci, which the report explicitly notes was highly polarizing.
To say the least.
Right. But despite the controversy, they saw a 12% day-on-day lift following his show in Milan. They captured the highest demand share of any designer who showed there.
How do they manage that? Because Demna's aesthetic is notoriously disruptive. It's not safe.
They captured that demand share because they masterfully converted that exact tension into sales. The list data links Gucci's rise to them leaning into looks-maxing discourse and a buy now, wear now immediacy.
Okay, for the listener who maybe isn't deep into the darker corners of TikTok, we should probably define what looks maxing actually is.
Good call. It is essentially a hyper-obsessive internet trend of optimizing your physical appearance to the absolute extreme.
Right.
It's about sharp jawlines, facial symmetry, and this almost dystopian algorithmic approach to human beauty. And Demna took that slightly toxic, hyper-vain internet culture and put it directly on the high fashion runway.
Wow.
He harnessed that provocative cultural indulgence.
And paired it with that buy now, wear now immediacy.
Yeah.
Which means consumers don't have to wait 6 months for the collection to hit stores.
Exactly.
They see the viral, controversial moment on TikTok, and they can instantly buy the piece to participate in the discourse.
It is a totally different strategy from Dior's calm, historical world building, but it is equally coherent in its own disruptive way.
But, you know, as we analyze these massive luxury houses with their 100-year histories and superstar designers, I feel like the most revealing part of this data is that you don't actually need a century of heritage to play this game.
Not anymore, no.
Cultural relevance is completely hacking the traditional luxury system. Consumers are buying into narratives they encounter elsewhere in the culture, which brings us full circle to our opening hook.
Zara at the Super Bowl with Bad Bunny. The report points out that Zara effectively harnessed cultural capital to construct something that feels directional enough to sit in the exact same conversation as luxury.
Let's break down how they actually did that.
Yeah.
Because they used the exact same playbook we saw last year, when Kendrick Lamar had his massive Celine moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Zara didn't just pay for a billboard. They embedded themselves in the culture, far deeper than their mass market price point would suggest. They placed a hyper-tailored, visually striking garment on a global stage where the audience just expects untouchable luxury.
They created a massive disconnect between the visual value of the suit and its actual retail price.
Wait, the sticker shock was in reverse.
Exactly. When viewers discovered it was Zara, it generated massive desire because of the accessibility and immediate demand because the barrier to entry was so low. I mean, they manufactured a high culture moment on a fast fashion budget.
And we see this cultural crossover effect heavily in entertainment as well. The Lyst Index highlights a massive resurgence in 90s minimalism, driven largely by the television show Love Story. The data here is just staggering.
The Carolyn Bessette Kennedy effect.
Yes.
After the first episode of Love Story aired, searches for black turtleneck knits skyrocketed by 217%.
That is huge.
And straight-leg denim demand climbed steadily across the platform. Calvin Klein, the absolute titan of 90s minimalism, saw a 43% week-on-week lift following the show's finale. This is a massive halo effect at the brand level.
43% for Calvin Klein, just from a TV show finale. And then it happened again with Vivienne Westwood. The report notes that during the press tour for the movie Wuthering Heights, demand for a specific Vivienne Westwood satin dress, the long fawn gown, surged by an absolutely incredible 890%.
890% is not a normal retail fluctuation.
No.
It requires a specific, powerful catalyst.
So how does a press tour manufacture an 890% surge for a dress?
It comes down to method dressing on the red carpet.
Oh, right.
The lead actress wore the Vivienne Westwood gown while still essentially in character, embodying the gothic romance and dark aesthetic of Wuthering Heights in real time. Fans weren't just looking at a piece of clothing.
They were watching an extension of the film's narrative.
Yes. They want to buy into the character and the mood of the movie, and that dress was the physical entry point.
So what does this all mean for how we shop? Because when I look at these numbers, it sounds like Carolyn Bessette Kennedy is becoming an actual search term.
She really is.
She is almost like a genre of music or a digital mood board. People aren't going online and typing black wool sweater size medium. They are searching for a vibe.
Exactly.
Think about the last time you bought a sweater. You probably didn't search for the literal garment. You, the listener, probably typed quiet luxury fall aesthetic or old money winter into a search bar. You were already training this algorithm without even realizing it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, your observation perfectly captures the shift in modern search dynamics. The Lyst report underscores that in an AI-influenced landscape, shopping journeys are increasingly reference-led rather than product-led. Carolyn Bessette Kennedy is the proxy for the mood, the identity, and the aesthetic. From that reference point, the AI handles the actual product discovery.
that completely flips the script. The cultural reference is the front door to the store now. And because we are now shopping by vibe and reference, it creates some incredibly unpredictable and honestly bizarre combinations when you look at the actual hottest products list for Q1.
It really does. The traditional hierarchy of high and low fashion is entirely flattened.
Completely flattened. Let's look at the extremes on this list. On the very high end, the #1 hottest product in the world right now is the Saint Laurent stand collar jacket. It is a stunning piece, very tailored, very luxurious, and it costs $3,400.
A true investment piece.
Right. And further down, you have the Dior medium book tote sitting at $3,314.
Right.
These represent the pinnacle of traditional luxury demand.
Okay, but then you look at the rest of the top 10.
Yeah, this is where it gets crazy.
Sitting at number 10 is the Kangol Tropic 504 flat cap, which saw a 14% uplift for menswear. And then sitting at number 8. Number 8 on the global list of the hottest fashion products in the world.
Wait, a Trader Joe's tote bag.
Yes, a Trader Joe's tote bag.
Seeing that grocery bag charted next to Parisian couture really emphasizes how drastically the metrics have changed. Wait, I have to admit my complete confusion here. A Trader Joe's tote bag is sitting on the exact same luxury index as a $3,400 Saint Laurent jacket. How does a literal grocery bag share the same brand heat as high-end luxury?
This raises an important question about what heat actually measures in 2026. Lyst's formula for the hottest products filters over 8 million items. It doesn't care about the retail price. No, it cares about cultural velocity.
Okay, how are we defining cultural velocity in this context?
Cultural velocity is the speed of adoption combined with the density of conversation.
Oh, okay.
It looks at the volume of social media mentions, searches, page views, and critically, it weighs global demand against the volume of available stock.
So rarity still plays a part, just a different kind of rarity.
Exactly. Brand heat is no longer strictly about a high price tag or artificial exclusivity guarded by a velvet rope. A Trader Joe's tote bag might cost a few dollars, but millions of people are customizing it, painting it, using it as an ironic flex, and styling it with designer vintage on TikTok.
Oh, I've seen so many videos of that.
Right. And when people try to track down limited regional colorways, it generates massive cultural velocity. It becomes an it bag, not because of what it costs, but because of what it signifies in the broader cultural conversation.
The Trader Joe's tote and the Saint Laurent jacket are both just incredibly effective communicators of identity. They speak different dialects of the exact same language.
To win in 2026, whether you are a storied luxury house or a mass market retailer, you can no longer rely on your heritage or your product in isolation.
That era is over.
Completely over. Brands must exist within a wider cultural ecosystem. Your image, your narrative, and your accessibility have to constantly reinforce each other.
It's a feedback loop.
Yes. Discovery drives desire. Desire drives demand, and demand fuels further discovery. It is a continuous, unbreakable loop.
A continuous loop of vibes, data, and culture, which honestly leaves you with something pretty wild to think about.
What's that?
Well, if we're increasingly shopping by piping these broad cultural references and vibes into an AI search bar, what happens to the brands that don't have a clear, instantly recognizable cultural archetype? Like if an algorithm can't categorize your vibe, do you just become completely invisible to the consumer? Will the algorithm just pass you by because you don't fit the aesthetic reference?
That is the existential threat for so many companies right now. The technology is forcing absolute narrative clarity. If you're muddy, you're gone.
It's a brave new world for retail, that's for sure. But listen, if you want to participate in Q1's brand heat, and you maybe don't want to drop $3,400 on that Saint Laurent jacket today, we have a carve-out for you.
Highly recommend this one.
I recommend checking out the other end of the Lyst Index. Grab that number 10 Kangol Tropic 504 flat cap, or honestly, go secure the number 8 Trader Joe's tote bag.
Yeah.
It is the ultimate way to flex your cultural capital on a budget.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Keep questioning the invisible forces behind your own desires, keep analyzing the culture around you, and we will catch you next time.